is Tiffany, and this is my channel, Hoosier Handmade. Thank you so much for stopping by today. In today's video, it's another edition of #FridaySews. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. As always, thank you so much to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting #FridaySews and allowing all of us other sewists out there on YouTube to jump on board with that hashtag and spend a little bit of their Friday talking about what we've been sewing, what we hope to sew, and a little bit about life in between. Thank you, Jen, for your generosity. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. It means so much to me. Please consider subscribing if you have not done so already. Introduce yourself down below. I would love to welcome you into this community and get to know you better. And thank you to each one of my friends who are tuning in again today for another video. It means so much to me that you keep coming back, showing your support and your friendship. It really means a lot to me. I just need to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. We made the 1,000 subscriber mark. We've actually surpassed it a little bit. So thank you so much, you guys, for your support. But overall, thank you for your friendship. That is a huge goal of my channel, to promote friendship in the sewing community, to gain friends that love sewing just as much as I do, and to share this with you guys has been so much fun. So thank you. We're going to be doing a giveaway. A giveaway is going to be coming up real soon. If you have watched any of my videos or been with me for any amount of time, you probably know that I love to give. Giving is one of my love languages, and giveaways are super fun for me. I've done a couple of those on my channel already. It's so much fun. It's like giving Christmas presents throughout the year, and I love to do that. So stick around, subscribe if you haven't done so already. A giveaway video is going to be coming up, and maybe we'll have some super fun with that. So again, thank you so much, you guys. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you have been working on in your sewing room this week. What's on your sewing table? What's coming up? I love to hear about your projects. It is so much fun to read about those down in the comments. So let me know what you're sewing on. If you want to connect further, I am on Instagram. My Instagram name is Hoosier.handmade, and I would love to follow you back and follow your sewing journey. It's so much fun to see what you guys are sewing up. I can sit here and talk to my camera and show you what I've been sewing, but it's so much fun to actually see pictures and that kind of thing via Instagram of what you are sewing. So consider finding me on Instagram if you like that kind of thing. I am back in my sewing room after being gone all weekend. It's good to be back in here. It's like a breath of fresh air for me. Do you feel that way when you step into your sewing room? I just love being back into my happy place. Not a lot of sewing has been going on. I was away, like I said, over the weekend. If you've watched my past couple Friday sews, you'll probably know that my husband and I celebrated our 5th anniversary last Friday, the 24th, and we went away for a few nights just to reconnect and have some fun celebrating our anniversary. And I'm going to talk about the dress that I made for that anniversary weekend here in just a second. That's actually what we're going to focus on for this Friday sews, because I don't have a lot else to show you. I haven't really been in my sewing room, but I'm excited for this weekend. It should be kind of calm, cool, and collected around here, back to normal, and hopefully I can sneak into my sewing room during nap times. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. So we're going to go into a pattern review. I'm going to give you my thoughts about this gorgeous dress here, and hopefully I'll be popping in some pictures as I go. So it was a much cooler much windy, rainy kind of weekend than I thought it was going to be. I was hoping to project some spring weather here in Indiana, but alas, we didn't get it there on the night that I wore this dress. So most of those pictures are going to be from our hotel room. it just is what it is. Hopefully they're good enough for you guys to kind of get the gist of what my dress looked like. I'm in love with it. It is so beautiful, and I can't wait to share more about it with you. I am going to take it off the hanger, but let's go through the pattern review questions that I usually do on a pattern review. I'm going to go through those kind of quick so this isn't too long for you guys, and then I'm going to share some thoughts about this dress. So this dress is described as a knit dress. It is quite fitted. It has 3 length options. I'm going to show you the pattern cover here. This is for the M8340. I'm going to talk to you in just a second about there being another pattern number out there that you need to know about. But this dress features 3 length options, various sleeve options. I went for View B because I just loved the whole look. That model just drew me right in. She looks amazing, and that was the look that I really wanted for my date night. So I have 2 package sizings. These are the women's sizes. So the first one is women's 20 to 28, and then the second packet here is women's 30 to 38. So 38 W is the highest size that it goes into. Really size inclusive. I really kudos to McCall's, to the Big Four, for bringing out those pattern numbers. Those size numbers. I'm really impressed. I'm glad they're starting to inch that way. Here's the confusing part about this pattern. There is another pattern number floating out there for this dress. For some crazy reason, McCall's and maybe even Simplicity, I haven't really checked in a while, but they are breaking apart pattern numbers depending on sizing. So there is another pattern number. It is McCall's M8339. I'm going to pop a picture up. The cover looks totally different, but it is the same dress, just in Mrs. sizing. So they have 2 pattern envelopes, 2 sizing ranges for this 8339. The first one is 4 to 12, and then the next one is 12 to 20. So depending on what size you need, this pattern number might be different. If you need women's sizes like I did, you will need the 8340, but if you need Mrs. sizing from 4 to 20, you will be looking for the 8339. I honestly have no idea why they would ever do that to people. It is so confusing, and it's really hard to find. Well, first of all, you might not even know that there is a Mrs. sizing like that floating around out there, and you wouldn't know to search for it on Instagram. It's a mess, honestly. My opinion, it's a mess when you break apart pattern numbers just depending on sizing. Because I went to look on Instagram for the 8340, and there were a lot of really beautiful examples, but they were using the 8339 number that I didn't even think to look for because I didn't know that pattern number was out there. So that's just a heads up about the sizing. So what size did I make? I made a size 28W. Now I was right on the line in between the 28W and the 30, which is the dividing line for these size packets. So I really thought I should go with the 30, but the 30 was a little too big in the bust, and it was a little too big in the hips, the hips area. The waist was where I was really worried about because the 28 is too small. It was about 3 inches too small, according to the finished garment measurements for my waist. But being a knit dress with a lot of stretch, I decided to take a leap of faith, and I actually cut out the 28W, and it was a good leap of faith because it worked out just perfectly. I've done a few alterations, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. So I did not make exactly the size 28, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. So just hold on. Did it look like the pattern cover? Yes, indeed. I think it does look very much like the pattern cover. She is super gorgeous there on the front, and I think that mine turned out really well as well. Were the instructions easy to follow? This is an interesting one. I want to make sure that I point out to you guys, I did not use use the booklet that comes in this pattern. I'm a very visual learner, so I went to YouTube and looked up McCall's 8340, and what popped up was Mimi G, a tutorial by her for the 8339. The great thing is the instructions are the same because the dress is the same for the 8339 as opposed to the 8340. So Mimi G has a really neat, concise, like 14-minute tutorial for this dress on YouTube, and that is what I used to sew up this garment. I didn't even look at the actual paper instructions themselves. Like I said, I love visual instructions, and it just worked out really, really well. I will link down below to that tutorial. Highly suggest you watch it before you make this dress, even if you're not a visual kind of person, even if you would rather follow the paper instructions. Just watch her and get some tips and tricks about what kind of stitch to use and where. It's really worth actually tuning into those tutorials just to give you a heads up about the garment. Likes and dislikes, I love everything about this dress. It was a fun sew. It was super, even the fabric was super fun to sew with. I had no troubles at all. The YouTube tutorial is really awesome. I really enjoyed following that, like I said. The twist, while it is somewhat complex, but Mimi G walks you through how to do that twist super, super easily. Here are my tips for that twist. Mark your notches as clearly and plainly as you can, even if you have to notch them out. And I mean not clipping into the seam allowance, not even actually drawing them with chalk, actually clipping the V out into the fabric would probably be the best route to take, because that twist relies completely on notches to show you where to start stopping and what side to hook to what, and it really will make it so much easier if you mark your notches completely, even the circles. Which sometimes I find myself zooming right past the circles, but do not skip any notches on this pattern. That's my biggest tip. My other tip is to mark your right side and your wrong side of your fabric. So I usually make an X on the wrong side of my fabric, especially if the fabric tends to look the same, very, very closely to the same on the front and the back, like this red dress did. It was really, really hard to tell the front from the back, and when you're twisting and turning, it's really helpful to know which side is right up, which side is the right way up. So those are my two tips for that twist. Dislikes, I have none about the pattern itself. The only annoyance is that pattern numbering, and it has nothing to do with the design of this dress. This dress is amazing. I just wish that all the sizes were the same number. What fabric did I use? So I used a ITY knit from Fabric Mart Fabrics. I bought this way back in 2021. I purchased 3 yards of it, and I used almost all of it. The pattern pieces for this dress are very strange. The front pieces there are very strange. So cutting out this pattern is not necessarily going to be the most fabric saving pattern that you've ever cut out, probably. So there's some awkward shaped pieces that I have left, but for the most part, I used all 3 yards for this dress. If you've ever ordered from Fabric Mart Fabric, you know that they have long, mile-long explanations, descriptions for their fabric. So this one said when I purchased it, it was deep wine poly lycra ITY knit, and it really is a wonderful fabric. I have been hoarding it. I've been saving it. I actually bought it especially in mind to make kind of like a date night dress or a fancier dress, and this just worked out so perfectly. It sewed really well. My machine handled it really good. I didn't even use my walking foot that much, which is what I usually prefer to use with knit fabric. I was kind of in a rush, and I wasn't really using that many techniques that I usually employ, and it still sewed really, really well. Okay, Okay, so let's talk about those pattern alterations that I made. I made quite a few. None of them were drastic. They're just small little things that I put in place so that the fit on this could be perfect. The first thing that I didn't do on this dress is use the neck facings. They want you to cut out a back and front neck facing, and then you sew it on to the V, and then you tuck it inside. And I just thought that was a recipe for disaster. I thought those will flip out. It's knit fabric. What's that gonna look like? And this knit fabric, I'm gonna show you in a second when I take it off the hanger, is very revealing to lines underneath. So any kind of like added bulk with that tucked in there, it was going to show, it was going to be outlined by the fabric, and I didn't really want to mess with that. So what I did for the neckline is I simply turned it over one time, because knit does not fray. I did not finish the ends. I turned it over one time and then did one row of stitching to make it as much invisible as I possibly could. It turned out really, really well. It stitched really good and it looks beautiful. It lays really nice along my neck. I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the side seams. So remember, I was worried about the waist. I was worried that those 3 inches were going to be too much. I was 3 inches over the finished garment measurements, but I went ahead from a 5/8 seam allowance down to a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it worked really, really well. I have plenty of room for movement. The hips are very comfortable, and it worked out good. On the back of this dress, they want you to insert a band of elastic. It's a neat kind of trick to cinch you in at the back of your waistline and kind of create, you know, more of those womanly curves along your back, so that it's not just kind of straight back there. I actually did not have the required size of elastic with me. I did this dress while I was on my quilt retreat, and I forgot to bring that elastic with me. I think it was 3/8. I think it requires 3/8. Yeah, it requires 3/8 inch elastic, and I did not have that. So what I ended up using back there was a very small piece of elastic. I think one of the ladies had it in her sewing box from when we were making those masks, and we were using those really thin little pieces of elastic to go up around our ears and be more comfortable. And that's what I put into the back. It is a very small touch, but it was enough to cinch in my waist, but not too tight to make it uncomfortable. So that was a really good choice. Just kind of happened. I didn't plan for that one to happen. And then the last alteration that I did is that I sewed up the split. So you can see on the pattern cover how high up her split was going to come. And that was about where it was hitting me before I sewed it up. And I actually ended up sewing it more to right below the knee, more to my comfort. Okay, would I sew this again? Yes, if I had the occasion. This is kind of one of those dresses where in my life right now, it's probably enough to have one version of this, but I would definitely go back to this pattern again if I needed another version of this dress, because it is just so much fun to put together. I think it's really flattering on all body types. That twist there in the front is very flattering. It gives you more of a defined waist. Even if you don't have a waist, it kind of creates one for you. It's an optical illusion. So it's just a beautiful pattern. So if I had a need for a dress like this again, I would definitely sew it again. And then would I recommend it to others? Oh, definitely. I am sitting here right now talking to you about it because I would recommend it so much. It is so much fun to sew this dress up. So let's take it off the hanger. I'll show you a few details. I'll kind of show you the fabric, and then we'll be done with this review. I'm actually gonna leave it on the hanger, but I will try to get in closer and show you more details so you can kind of see how drapey this fabric is, this ITY knit. It is quite slinky. You can see a lot of outlines underneath it. For me, finding the right undergarments was kind of a big deal. I wanted to make sure that I was, you know, modest, but yet still looked good in my dress. So there is the neckline where I simply turned it under raw edges showing. It's fine, it's not gonna fray. And then I just simply stitched it down in as close to the line as I could. And you can't really tell it. I didn't even finish this seam back here. You'll see that I just pressed it kind of flat. That was, again, to cut down on bulk because this fabric wants to show every single bump. That I wanted to create as much as seamless seams as I could, act like it wasn't really even there. So here is the twist in the front. It is beautiful. Let me see if I can hold it up a little better. It is a beautiful twist, and they really do walk you through how to do that. Don't be intimidated. Watch that Mimi G video. It shows you exactly how you need to fold these pieces. One goes into the other, and then you simply sew your side seams. I'm telling you guys, it's not that hard. You can do it. You can do it. and let me turn it around. Let me show you where that really thin elastic, so you can kind of see some bunching, gathering where that tiny little elastic is, but I honestly can't even hardly feel it. I can't even hardly feel it in there. It's so tiny, but yet it does give a little definition over, you know, over my back there, so it looks really nice. Last thing that I wanted to show you was that split there in the front. Again, mine is not as dramatic as the pattern cover. That's how I preferred it to be, but it is a beautiful slit there, and of course plenty of room for movement as you need to walk. So I am super pleased with this McCall's pattern. This is actually the second McCall's pattern if I count that Know Me pattern that I made as a McCall's pattern. I'm super impressed with them. This is the second one that I've made in almost a month, where I am just super pleased with the sizing and how it came out, and I'm just super happy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little review that we did for the McCall's 8340. Let me know down below if you would ever sew a dress like this, or if you have made this dress. I would love to know about your experience. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.